Okay, guys, welcome to the podcast, the video podcast of Geeks Assembled. We have American, we have British fans here. Today, we're discussing a NBC TV show that lasted for 9 seasons. It's known as Night Court. Now, the ironic part is this wasn't the main and longest cast in the show. It was not. Unfortunately, a lot of the cast members have died, including the judge with the gentleman in the boat in the lighter tie right there. And the other irony is, if it wasn't for Barney Miller, this show actually wouldn't have existed because it's the same family, it's the same school of thought, it's the same writers, it is the same producers, it's the same directors. Of course, they did better than Barney Miller, and Barney Miller was the 70s to the early 80s. This was from the late 80s to the early 90s. So the show had to change. They also were on 30 Rock as well for an episode. So they were able to update, and NBC was more modern than ABC. So the show changed. They also had more Emmys than Barney Miller, even though it's the same writers, same producers, same directors, and even the same character actors as well. But as I said, this one didn't take place in a police station. This took place in a courtroom. And even Harry, the gentleman there, admitted that he got the job because nobody else was home. So you also have Dan Fielding, John Larroquette, who's a wonderful character actor, and he was also in Kojak and a couple of other shows from the 70s. And he played a very sharp, very sexually voracious um, prosecutor. They did change the defenders. Marky Post is the most famous one, but she wasn't the first. They changed the bailiffs. Point over there to Roz, uh, and to Roz, the woman over there, over there. They had the original bailiffs were from Barney Miller, were character actors from Barney Miller. They also had the gentleman Mac there, who was also the African American, and they also had Bull Shannon, Richard Mall, who was very funny, who was originally not. Yep, but Bull. That's who we're talking about. Right, right, a famous comedian as well. So Richard Mall also got the bald head because he was supposed to be in a sci-fi movie and they wanted him to shave his head, and the producers liked it, and that's how it stayed. So we are watching the second or the third in a sort of idea of Night Court doing 200 to 210 cases in one night. So that's basically what this is. One of the episodes. This isn't the only episode where they've done like 200 plus cases in one night. I guess this is from what? From 6 at night to 2 in the morning, something like that.
Yes,
Um,
correct.
and it also has a very similar sounding theme to Barney Miller as well, kind of a jazzy,
New York.
yeah, New York type of vibe as
New
well.
York.
And there's also a couple of special guests, which we'll get into in a minute as well. This is the 7th season, so they have sort of a season and a half more before it's ended. This is before they were on 30 Rock as well, not the whole cast. And like I said, they had John Aston and Brett Spiner and Mel Torme and Terry Hatcher. They had a lot of other famous guest stars that became very big in the 90s or the early 2000s. So, why don't we get started with Lee Wilson from England and see what he thinks of it?
Well, now you know how much I really love Barney Miller. Um,
Right. Okay.
sarcasm. I didn't like Barney Miller. but I was quite surprised because I did read up on this show that it was the same writers and the same team behind it. But this works so well, and it works a lot better because to me, this is more of just a sketch show. It was a constant sketch after sketch. You know, coming up to the bar, you know, guilty, tell us what you play. It was all different sketches, different people, and it works so well. It's so quick. That's what's good about this. Barney Miller just seemed to drag for me. But this, yeah, okay, it's set in a courtroom, but it's not, they do go outside of the courtroom as well. And the characters in this are good. And they can they're getting away with a lot more in this. A bit risque, shall we say, which I do like. I do like, you know, near knuckle, bit of innuendo and stuff like that. I do like that. Yeah, I enjoyed this. It's the first time I've ever seen this. I've never watched it before. This is the first episode I've ever seen. To be honest, I don't think this was ever broadcast in the UK. It doesn't ring a bell with me. It might have been, I don't know, but I enjoyed it. I was giggling to a few things, especially what the character is it Dan Fielding, yes, what he was saying and things he was thinking. I thought, well, yeah, that made me laugh.
To the cheerleaders.
Anything. What was? The mind control thing. Yeah. But yeah, I did enjoy it. So this time, Alex, you have come up trumps by picking something I did like.
So, what did you think of the special guest?
Yes, I didn't expect Wile E. Coyote to appear. I know you've got to eat, but please leave the goddamn bird alone.
Go to a restaurant like everybody else.
Yeah, I did. That was a good scene. Yeah, I did like that. You do have a little story in it, you know. But there is a story there with the man and the woman. He wants to marry her and all like that, but it's in between all the sketches, which I did like all the sketches. So yeah, this one, yeah, I liked it very much. Yeah. So I may have to go online at some point and find some more episodes to watch.
I did like I liked the part where the woman was insulting Marky Post's character, and I liked it that she kind of, you know, she was quiet, and then she turns to Harry and Mac and says, "I say we take the bitch down." and the audience is like, you know, and Judge Harry says, "Well, you heard the lady, Mac." "Yes, sir."
And the good thing is about this, it is recorded in front of a live audience.
Right.
You can tell that is a live audience. Not canned laughter like Barney Miller, which I don't like canned laughter. The live audience thing works so well with this. So, yeah. Over to you, Alex. That's my say for now.
All right. And Harry, what do you say about it?
Prepare to be enjoyed. Oh, you're muted.
Hang on, Harry.
Harry, you're muted. Please adjust.
Nope.
Try again.
It's going in and out.
Lee, can you unmute him?
There we go. I gotta admit, I am something of a Night Court fan. I love the show. I've seen many an episode. Used to watch it all the time on the network. Catch it every now and then on live TV. I love the show. So today, since I had some stuff going, I said, well, since we're doing Night Court, why not throw on the suit and tie? And for you, my dear Susan, as I said before, after court, let's go out for a little dinner, maybe a little dancing, and then we'll head back to the hotel, go for a little fun games. What do you expect? It's Dan Fielding. Dan is a lech. Dan chases just about anything in the script. Cheerleaders, there's hookers, there's just about anything in the script. The only time Dan refrained from chasing something in a skirt is when he was told, "You go after her, you're dead," because that was his boss's daughter. But basically, Dan would go after anything with a skirt. He may have been a louse. His character may have been lousy. He may have shown at times some signs of honor. But for the most part, Dan Fielding was a lech. Now, Marky Post, I loved her character. In fact, before she did her work on Night Court, she was actually on another her TV series. It's called The Unknown Stuntman with Lee Majors. And she was the head of a bail bonds agency that was there. Richard Mall, believe it or not, I actually saw him in one of the series, the first episode of a favorite TV series of mine. And for which series? I just gotta say one phrase, and you know this phrase, you'll know the show. In the end, there can be only one. He was in the first episode of Highlander. Said, this was probably the ensemble cast you had on the show. This was probably the best lineup, in my opinion. I love Night Court. I've got the first season on DVD. Eventually, I'm going to have to get the rest of it on DVD, but what can I say? I love the show. It's probably, my opinion, one of the best comedy series that's ever been done from the late 80s and the 90s. That's the best I got to say on it for now.
Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, my opening thoughts are I've always liked this show. It's great, and to me it represented New York in another way. I mean, there was so many of those like classy New York shows going on television, like NYPD Blue and all these other things, Hill Street Blues. I mean, just, you know, the New York frame of mind was you know, everywhere, prevalent, and Night Court was like the funny side of all of that. I mean, there was Barney Miller, but until I came and stayed with him, I had never watched Barney Miller really very much at all. But this one I'd watched a lot, and I love Bull Shannon. I think that he's great. Sullivan is hilarious, and she is. I love how she stands her own in this courtroom of insanity. She's like, you know, and in this story she was, you know, nesting because she was really pregnant and stuff. And so, I mean, here she was there with like a Zamboni cleaning up the floors, the carpets, one of those huge floor cleaners. That was hilarious. And the annoyance of the hole in the courtroom, and like the whole floor fell through from the courtroom above. That was pretty funny too, because that you know, that annoyance and those the construction workers were catcalling all the ladies below. Anyway, it was funny. And the story of the, you know, star-crossed lovers was amazing and funny and stuff. And yeah, so good times. Oh, and Bull coming in with the you know, the one of the star-crossed lovers in his arms. You know, see, I look what I found her. And he was in his swimming trunks. Well, not his swimming trunks, but this like 1940s lycra swim suit. It was like, you know, anyway, that was very funny. So yeah, good stuff. Good funny show. Thanks for thinking of this, Alex. And back to you.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was a different network. They did have more cast, more writers, more producers, because it was taking place at night. They also were able to have more characters in the cafeteria and more characters in the hallways. And they were also able to cover more topics, more problems than Barney Miller was able to do. Plus, they also had a lot of character actors from that show as well in similar roles. Like they had the bailiff. One of the bailiffs was in Barney Miller 6 times, and another one was a woman that uh, watched too much television, and they also had an episode in Barney Miller that. But with Harry was a slightly different character than Barney, so he
Yeah.
was a little bit more zany, a
Yeah.
little bit more wild, a little bit more fun. He wasn't quite the angel that Barney Miller was usually. Um, so they also had to modernize it, and it was also on a different network, so they were able to do more stuff. I think if this had been on ABC, it would have been too similar to Barney Miller, and there might not have been a reason to do it. Uh, Plus, it was also partially with Warner Brothers as well, so that's why you have Wile E. Coyote in there as well that you couldn't do on Barney Miller. Um, and they had zanier characters. They had more. I think because it was the '80s, they were able to comment on more social issues than Barney. Barney Miller still had to talk about, being black, being Spanish, being a woman. Now, Marky Post's character did talk about being a woman, and she was an Anglophile. When you go to her apartment, you see, items of Charles and Prince, and Diana and all that.
Yeah,
But
she did
again,
idolize
right.
Diana.
But again, this was the era. What was it, 1981 to 90 something? Because Princess Diana, died in 91. So you have that.
Princess Diana was 97.
90. I apologize. So you had this weird era between 1981 when they got married, and that was also televised everywhere, to 1996 when the show was ending. Night Court was ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were able to have more topics. They were able to sort of graduate from the Barney Miller 70s, early 80s to go the next two generations, which were a little bit more up to date. They also had the similarity of another Asian getting into the cast by marriage, which they also did in Barney Miller as well. So there is similarities, but thankfully it's not as close as one would think. There were some episodes that I didn't like of Night Court, but I thought the acting was very good. The jokes are different. There's a little bit more rapid fire. It's not as slow, but that's not true for every episode. They did have some midgets. They did have some times that Dan Fielding was running for political office, and some people have liked those episodes. Some people have not. Not every show has, A1 material every single episode. But I do like Night Court a lot. It's very intelligent. It was one of the few shows that also demonstrated that raising a baby is a lot of sleepless nights. So if there was anybody who didn't have babies and, thought that it was easy, like they show on a lot of TV shows, they only show the good parts. There's a lot of sleepless nights if you have an infant that you have to take care of, and they showed that like 4 times in the series. That you love babies, but it's not. If you want a lot of sleep, babies are not usually helpful to that. So they showed a lot of uh, problems or issues that they didn't show in a lot of other series, like being overextended with the credit, raising babies, you know, working so many hours that your relationship falls apart, and stuff like that. And they didn't show that in every single TV show, and this show was trying to be more modern and more up to date, and also showing a lot more hostage and other types of items that you might have, in a night court thing. Getting back to the episode, it was also amusing when there was so much noise that Fielding had to do a charade of a prostitute, and a John. That was very amusing. And that, of course, he's changed. He's done different roles now. But it was very, no, it was very funny. I have some favorite moments of this episode. Not only Wile E. Coyote and the very very quick dialogue and the cheerleaders, and there was also two other episodes where they did the 200 cases in one night, and that's very funny that they keep it that fast. I remember when I first watched this, I said, "Can they do this? Can they, do 200 cases in one night?" Um, but yeah, I like I said, I do like this series, and they still show it on Laugh, and they have it on Amazon as well. I have a few DVDs as well, so I will also watch this show. Anybody else have any favorite moments?
Well, yeah, I like the where the workers drop the magazine into the courtroom. Girls on girders. Uh, and then Dan Fielding picks up. Oh, they've printed my letter. It's just things like that just made me laugh. He's a good character. I mean, the one where there was using telekinesis. I'm going to make you rise off the floor. See, it's not working. Oh, it has. Sleazeball. But also the one with is it the massage, the cosplaying massage parlor? You get a celebrity. He promised me a celebrity. Look what I got. And it was Oliver Hardy's. But yeah, things like that. Alex, I do like this show. It's a good show. So good choice. That's some of my favourite moments. Back to you.
Okay, Harry, what did you what do you like about the series?
I just look at the fact that it's just such a well done series. Harry, in real life, did magic. He was an actual magician, and not just a comedian, but he was a magician, and he showed that in a few episodes. In this one, I have to say my favorite scene is when one of the construction workers falls down the hole. He ends up in Harry's court, and he says, "Hey," and Harry says, "Okay, you're in my turf now. Bench warrant." And then, of course, you have your usual slam, time served, a $50 fine. That's Harry's tagline from the show. Time served, $50 fine. Except one instance in this episode where he said, no, not $50 fine, $49.99 and time served. He said, you can pretty much count on it being, it's just such a great show. There's the guest stars, Brent Spiner and everybody. I mean, it just, right? You didn't even recognize him without his gold data makeup on. It was just such a well done show. And I even saw Larroquette in a movie with Christy Alley in it that was well done, Madhouse. So I said, the cast went on to do a lot of other things, but it's just a well done cast, a well done show. If you don't have it on your DVD collection, get it. It's worth the investment.
So I guess it's my turn with my favorite moments, and I'm gonna say when Wile E. Coyote showed up, that was terrific. I love it when you mix live action and animation, and they did a really good job. This was before the whole make them 3D and stuff. This was just super cool though, and I loved the like I said, I love it when Bull brings the star-crossed lover back to the courtroom in his bathing suit, in that old style, old-timey bathing suit. And I love Christine driving the carpet Zamboni or the floor Zamboni, and that was really cool. And I gotta say, yeah, John Larroquette, he's an amazing actor. I love him, absolutely love him in Librarians.
I was just going to say, is he the guy in Librarians?
Yes, he is, and he did a really good job as Merlin / the other guy.
I'm sat watching it and I'm thinking, I'm sure that's the guy out of Librarians.
Yes, correct. And
there you go.
Very cool.
I do pay attention. Yeah, I do pay attention sometimes.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a good time, and you know, Harry as a character, and as a also the one here, the cast member that we have. Anybody named Harry is probably a really great guy, really fun to hang out with and chat with. So yeah, it was great. It was a good thing. And so, anybody else have anything else to say?
Of course, Night Court is in the Television Hall of Fame. In 2013, it got that award. So many years after it ended. Also, it was in 30 Rock. Also, Richard Mall was in My Two Dads. That's an okay show.
Oh,
But he was as Bull. He was Bull. Also, it's won a lot of awards for John Larroquette. John Larroquette did help run the show, and it was basically Harry, Bull, and Dan Fielding were in almost all the episodes where everybody else was not. But like I said, it's, you know, it is a different show. It is a funnier show. It is a faster show than Barney Miller, even though it did come from there. If it wasn't for Barney Miller, this would have only been about 20% of what it is, because it was the same writers, same producers, same company with Warner Brothers. And then the last three seasons, the last two I didn't like so much, 7 and, oh, I should say 8 and 9. 7 was okay. 1 to 7 was okay. They changed the show. They made it faster. They made it quicker. But yeah, it did have a lot of producers, more than Barney Miller. That's probably why I was able to do more, and it was able to be faster. But as I said, it is known. It is a big show. It's done pretty well from '89 to now. It's won awards. John Larroquette won 3 awards. It's Hall of Fame TV series. So it, like I said, I don't like every single episode. I don't like every single season, but they did a very good job. Balancing a series with, what, 6 to 8 characters is tough. And they were able to bring it into the 80s, bring it into the 90s, and be a lot faster and quicker than most other shows. And even though we don't have all the actors with us anymore, you know, they did a pretty good job. The audience loved them. And that's also important in a TV show. If the audience loves the cast, it helps not only with the acting and the writing and the show, but it also helps for TV fans and people that aren't fans of the show. And originally I wasn't a fan of the show, and it won me over.
so
So what do you guys think?
final say and score.
I'm going to give it overall. I'm going to give it a 9, except for the last 2 seasons. I did like this episode. Like I said, I think there were 3 episodes where they did like 200 plus a night. I like the balance of it. I like the humor of it. I like how quick it is.
This episode.
Yeah, I'd give it a 9. There's only about 5 other episodes that I really liked, and like I said, it did change because the first 2 seasons it wasn't quite this fast.
And Lee.
Yeah, well, so I was quite surprised that I did like this because, as you well know, I'm not a big fan of American comedies. Only a few. Well, this one I did like. So, and it's only my first episode I've ever seen. I'm going to give this a 7.75 bangs of my gavel.
All right. And Harry, what will you give this out of 10?
As I said, Susan, I'm a fan. I love the show. I've watched most of the episodes one time or another. All I gotta say is, you want my rating? Bam! Guilty. 50 out of 50 gavels.
All right. Well, you get time served too. All right.
All of my time. Put up my 50 gavels. Time served.
And quit flirting with me, Dan Fielding.
quit flirting
And
with
I'll
my
get
dear. If I quit flirting with you, I'd have to lock myself away in a coffin because I would be flirting with every woman.
it's true. Okay, so I'll give this a 9 out of 10 too. But very funny stuff, really great, and so if you want to close
Okay.
us out.
All right. Yeah, as I said, it's on DVD, it's on Amazon, it's on Laugh digital over the air TV as well. Uh, it's a very funny show, good ensemble cast, good setting, a lot of rapid fire jokes, very intelligent. It changed from the first to third season. From 4 to 7, it got faster. 8 or 9, I'm not a huge fan of in terms of the seasons, but they added more characters and different characters. And like I said, the writing's very good, and it presents a lot of situations that they didn't do in a lot of other shows. Um, so it is a television Hall of Fame show, and in a way, it owes it to Barney Miller. So it shows you the progression of history. So. Uh, so join us again. We're on Facebook. We have a page. We have a group. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube as well. And don't forget to drop and don't forget to drop us a comment if you see the episode with Wile E. Coyote as well. Uh, and yeah, I mean, there's great comedies on both American and British soil. It's just Americans have a different viewpoint, but I enjoy the comedy from American and from UK as well. And we all need to laugh, and I know a lot of people that were laughing watching this show. So, thanks a lot. Have a good weekend, and don't forget to drop us a comment on YouTube. Thanks.